Hello there guys, my name is Jay or DA and welcome back to another episode of the Old Norse Shipyards build videos. So today we're looking at an all-terrain vehicle that has been, shall I say, inspired by some other builds on the workshop, so in terms of the Marauder 3 and stuff like that. And basically I wanted to build an all-terrain vehicle that was very versatile and capable of carrying lots of people as well as lots of cargo. And it needed to get over the most drastic of bumps and lumps in the terrain that a planet has to throw at it. So what I did was I went through and built it over the weekend, and this is what I produced. This is called the Svinnr Stodhross, which basically means swift mare in Old Norse, and it is just a very fast, very versatile craft that is a very sturdy platform, may I say so myself. And I think it looks really nice. I think I've done a fairly good job on this. It looks very plain, but kind of like a Tonka truck, if that makes sense. It looks really nice, I think. And I like the colour scheme and the way I've done it with the mud skirts and stuff like that. It looks really cool. And hopefully you guys will agree. So this craft, again, is very plain on the outside, but what's contained inside and the features it actually has for driving around all terrain is actually quite nice, and you wouldn't expect it. So firstly, we do have a back connection to this because I wanted this craft to be able to cater for both types of cargo, so large cargo going through this connector and smaller cargo using the internal cargo containers on the inside of the cabin. We also have two solar panels that are here, which are just to pick up any extra power that we require. This thing is powered on small reactors, so it does need that little extra kick. So those work fairly well, to be honest, giving it a little bit extra oomph, and it doesn't get over, it doesn't overload a lot, but it's just there anyway, just in case. The front section, I think I did a fairly good job with the way that the windows and the glass is designed, because I wanted to make it as open as possible so you can see what the hell is going on around you, especially in a craft this size. And I think that this size is really capable of being driven on a first person basis, so you should be able to use this in first person without that many problems, because where the cockpit is quite neatly placed over the wheel arch, as well as having a nice almost 180 view, so it does work. Now the only issue for me is you can't really get into it via jumping because the way the ground clearance is, but you have to basically fly a little bit to get inside, and I've just clicked to open the door, and the door is on a timer which depressurizes the cabin and opens the doors, and then when you close them it repressurizes the cabin and closes the doors. That is for when you're, say, in a space or a no oxygen environment, but as we are on an Earth-like planet, it is not really needed, but it's there just in case we are on another planet. So again, it's versatile in terms of the planets you can use it on. Also, inside the cabin we have a lot of space in here. We have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the two drivers. That's 12 people you can have in this at one time, which is pretty damn ridiculous. So if you were wanting to transport, say, an expedition team or something like that, you can do. With space up above, these four actually connect to the heart of the ship, so you can use these to refuel the ship or pull out items you need. We then also have some micro cargo for the just the people's personal belongings and stuff like that if they want to leave them in the ship. Then we also have two first aid areas where I think these are like the most crucial bits for me, because if you were to go on an explorative venture, you would need this capability, so if you were to get hurt, you can heal here rather than having to be transported all the way back, which is a bonus. So what we'll do, I think, is we'll close the doors and move on. Okay, so with the doors closed, we'll then move into the cockpit section. Now, up here we have the co-pilot to your left and the pilot to your right, and these are two very nicely situated seats. I was considering having like a front section, like mid seat for the pilot, but it was just too awkward with the walkway and everything, so I kind of kept it as it is, and I think it works quite nicely. But if we jump into the pilot seat, I'll actually show off this lovely view you have of everything, so you can actually see quite a bit below you. You can't really see above you, but I don't really think that matters too much. and you can see pretty damn far beside you. At least I think that's about 180, isn't it? Yeah, it's 180ish. So you can see a fair proportion of where the hell you're driving to and from, which is nice. Now, this ship does have quite a few nifty features on, again, that you would have seen in like the Marauder 3 and other crafts of the sort. And basically, I have lifting pistons. So if this thing were to get stuck or require attention underneath for repairing jobbies and stuff like that, if you hit number 1, you have these 4 pistons come out that basically raise it up on a level playing field. Now, one of the ships I reviewed the other day had just the 2, which basically allowed it to pivot. I wanted 4, so the whole thing could be lifted on an equal basis and basically be raised off the floor so you could repair it. Now, as a precautionary note, we do have a second one which is on the front. Now, if I actually head outside, just bypassing the door system by just opening the one door, you'll actually see that this piston comes down, I think it's like 1 or 2 blocks lower. The reason why is because it is on this sort of plane up here, which is 1 block further up. But that actually works in its favour, really, because it keeps it out of the way and stops it from getting dinked, because I actually found that this face was the face that kept getting dinked when you were driving around. So that is kind of your area you don't really mind damaging. So it is raised up and out of the way, which is quite good, so it won't get damaged as much. But it does help with overall lifting the ship. So say if the front end of the ship were to be jammed, you can use that piston to basically push yourself off and use the back wheels with a proportion of the wheels to actually force you off of that ridge, and then you can finally engage your front wheels again, which is quite cool. The centre bit also helps for that, and we've also got the additional atmospheric thrusters which allow it to be pushed even if it's not touching the ground. So it does have a bit of propulsion via other means, so it can push itself off or use those as some sort of ski. So you can push it along a ridge that is a bit too tricky for the centre of the ship to go through. Now, when those go back down, they are quite nicely tucked in, and we do have extended plates on the bottom, so it does actually pick up on a crevice. So say if there's like a small divot, rather than this piston getting stuck in that divot, you'll actually get these other 2 bits of plating that just pick up around that and allow it to be pushed up. And I think it works quite nicely, and it does work in the video as you saw in the start of this video. So yeah, so that's one of the features down with. Now, another one of the features is if this were to get damaged, say if I were to grind off a block here or here or here, for instance, you'll notice a projector is projecting directly back onto the ship, which basically allows you to repair it. Now, I may do a video showing you guys how to do that for yourselves, but it's a very, very easy technique. And again, I might leave that for another video if any of you guys wish to know how to do it, because I did have to find a workaround to get it working properly. But I think it works really awesomely, to be honest, because if you take damage on the underskirts or anything like that, so say if this were to be damaged, this were to be damaged, or whatever, you can just swap to your welder, which is number 9, and then just fix it straight away, no fuss, no hassle. And of course, because you've got these raising pistons, it basically becomes its own ramp, like you'd see in a garage. So you can get underneath there, it's the perfect height for a player character, and you can just work on it without any actual problems. So those are the pistons. So if we lower those back down and get us touching the floor again, as you can see, they do tuck up quite nicely, and I think the plates actually help with disguising them. So it does work fairly well. Now, another system that I've introduced on this that is a concept taken from another craft is 3 and 4, which basically is like a gearbox system which enables you to up the speed the wheels are allowed to go. So if you were to turn off the atmospheric thrusters, which you can do, you can then basically gear up and gear down, which is really good for flat surfaces as well as tall surfaces. So if you're on a tall surface, you'd basically put it in the lowest gear and then move. So if I were to take my handbrake off, like it is now, I'm not actually going to move anywhere. But if I were to hit 4, I can then start moving and rolling around. And it's a really, really nifty system because it does help you gauge, sort of terrain a lot better. And I've accidentally lifted my piston there. Whoopsie. So that works quite well. Now, again, as I said, we do have 5, which is the atmospheric thrusters, which I tend to keep on. They don't really take up that much power. And again, they will push it, even though the wheels aren't propelling. So if you did need that extra oomph, they can give it you. You then have number 6, which turns on the atmospheric blocks, which just give it a bit more grip, which I found on planets really needs to be turned off unless you're on like a moon or something that has really low gravity. You need those to pull you down that additional bit to keep you on the surface. Then you also have 7, which turns the projector on and off just in case you don't want to be using up as much power. So in all fairness, there isn't that much power usage coming from that, so I think it's just like 1.01, which isn't that bad. And then you have 9, which opens your doors and closes your doors, as well as activates the depressurize and repressurize on the air vent. So that is really the features on the craft, and hopefully you guys are already really excited about those features, because it's took a while to implement properly and tweak with the wheels and everything, and I think I've got this to the stage where it all seems to work fairly well. So what we'll do is we'll gear up and take our handbrake off, and we will drive it in first person, just to show that it is fairly easy to drive in first person. Now I believe if I just actually zoom out and see where, yeah, so if we head that way over there, we can so we can actually go over that way with this. So if you also notice, the wheels all turn rather than just having 2 turning, because I found that it's a better system, it's a better platform for steering, and the steering is a lot tighter, so you can get a lot more precise turns via doing that. So I think it's very, very well thought out, and I've used other ships to sort of work from other people's mistakes, and hopefully make this as simple as possible for you guys to run. Now, as you can see, if I just up the speed of the wheels, it is fairly good, and it's fairly easy, it's fairly jerky with the turning, so it's fairly quick at turning, and it can react quite well. Now, I must admit, when you get up to higher speeds, it does have its own issues where it starts to slide, but that is, again, a space engineers with friction and gravity, and I think maybe if I added a few more, if I actually turned on the artificial mass, I could probably actually get up to I can actually probably get a bit more grip out of it, but you don't really notice it that much, but it does help. So let's just continue moving along the terrain, and let's get it up to a higher speed and see how and when we can break it. So we're going to up it to the full unlimited, which enables us to get up to really ridiculous speeds. Now, as you can see, ridiculous speeds do make it topple, which I have just achieved, which can be a bit of an issue. It doesn't have a self-righting mechanism, unfortunately. It's not like a Robot Wars ship, but I've already just proved the concept. If you do go too fast and turn too quickly, it will tip, which is kind of common for most crafts. So what we'll do is we'll just get a copy of it, and we will just flip it back on itself and drop it back down and carry on. There we go. So overall, I think it works quite well, and I think it took the damage quite well then. Yeah, it did. It took a few block damage, but as you can see, if I were to stay on the roof and start fixing it using the projector block that is projecting all the blocks that I require, it fixes fairly easily, and you don't really need to think too much. And that is the whole point of that projector thing. It's just so you don't have to think and make errors replacing blocks. It's just already there, it tells you what you need, and there's no real issue. So let's just go flat out, shall we, and try and crash this thing, because that is always the fun part, isn't it? Let's take it off a cliff. Oh. Alright then, let's go. Now I did actually try and do this. Oh, there we go. Oh god, we're going to land right on the divots there. Yep, there we go. But again, the projector block has survived, and we can continue to repair. So, if you do break it, it's a fairly easy fix. All you need is the parts. So hopefully I've showed this off to you guys, and you guys have enjoyed watching and think it's got some ideas that you guys can sort of take and reuse, and some concepts that you can take and reuse. And if you have enjoyed this video, please like, favourite, and of course subscribe for more. Go and check out the build on the Steam Workshop now, and I will see you guys later. Peace.
Need clothes? Holy shit! Want to become a shameless promoter? Explosions! Buy clothes today! Explosions!